Hi everyone, my name is Laurie Robbins Erickson and I am on the advisory committee for the Women and Girls Africa Summit. It's an honor to be on this committee, working with a number of other women and men who have one primary goal, and that is to improve the lives of women and girls in Africa. And it's a very exciting time because when women come together, there is not a problem that we cannot solve. And after working with women most of my life, either advising or supporting in some way, shape, or form, I'm in particular excited about this summit where we get to highlight women and girls in Africa. And in particular, I do think about the girls because in 2016, there was a study published in Science magazine. And what this study shared was that by the time boys and girls are 6 years old, they both perceive that boys are smarter. Yes, so by the time boys and girls are 6 years old, they both perceive that boys are smarter. And girls, they begin opting out of activities that are deemed to require intelligence or brilliance. So this happens by age 6. And after working with women most of my life in some way, shape, or form, it hit me that we need to start much earlier in supporting our girls and educating our girls. Right? We know so much more about early childhood education and the brain in under age 5. So I'm super excited for this summit to happen. We'll be talking about climate change and the environment and education and health and economy. Right? And all of this weaves together, it blends together. And the through line throughout all of these themes is about women and our power, women and our leadership. And after working with women around the world, I've realized that there's some key things about this word that we say or that we call leadership. I begin that leadership. Well, first, we have to realize that any woman has the possibility at any moment to think of herself as a leader. Any girl at any moment has the possibility to think of herself as a leader. I believe that leadership, it all begins with curiosity. As individuals, we need to think about the things that are important to us. We have to become curious about how we're going to solve some of the challenges that we're going to face every day as leaders. But from there, what happens is we move to this place of conviction, right, where we begin to understand who we are and what we stand for. And once we have that conviction, it gives us the courage we need to step out into the world and become better versions of ourselves. But we also encourage others to do the same. And it's at this point, I believe, that we connect. We have the opportunity to connect at such a deep level, whether it's connecting with our families, our friends, our employers, or our communities. And then as females, we weave this all together. Curiosity, conviction, courage, and connection. I want to go back to curiosity because curiosity is the foundation of it all. Curiosity is when we pause and we soften and we stop. And we ask ourselves some fundamental questions like, what matters to me? It's also when we begin to decipher, what are the facts and what are the stories around me? Stories meaning those things that we make up. Because stories, while powerful and motivating, can also be debilitating if we live into them like they're true. So, for example, one of my first memories of gender, and I encourage you all to think about this, right? When is your first memory of gender? What it meant to be the binary male or female, and what did you learn? So for me, I remember I was 8 years old, and my mom gave me a book to teach me about the male and female body, and also about sex. And as 8 years old, I'm flipping through this book, and I come to a page that has female breasts on it. And there's large breasts and small breasts and high breasts and low breasts. And I pick out the breasts that I'm going to have, like I'm ordering them from some online store. Now, fast forward, I'm 12 years old, and the breasts that I have are not the breasts that I ordered when I was age 8. And that it took about a decade or so to reconcile that. Because our culture, our media does not necessarily tell girls that your body is perfect however it is. Our culture is a big story. Our culture is our recycled stories told over and over again. And for the most part, we don't tell our girls that your body is perfect. However it looks, go be bold, go make magic, whatever that looks like for you. So what is your first story about gender? What's one thing that you remember, one thing that you learned? And is that a fact or a story? So when we sit and we're curious, we automatically move to this place of conviction, where we begin to understand who we are and what we stand for. And conviction is just that. It is, what do I take a stand for? It's a declaration. This is how life is going to go. So as we enter into this Women and Girls Africa Summit with the goal of improving the lives of women and girls in Africa, what are you declaring? What are you declaring? I declare that every female in Africa has freedom, has choice, and dignity. So once we stand in our conviction, we need some courage. We need some courage to step out in the world and to share our message, share our declaration. And courage is the ability to take one step forward. And when we repeat that step over and over again, we begin to build our confidence. But the first step always requires courage. Now, there's an English author, Elizabeth Gilbert, and she has this wonderful story about courage. And what she shares is that when she was younger and she would embark on a new project, and she was standing in her conviction, you feel excited. You get this energy, like, yeah, I'm going to do it. But then fear shows up. And when she was younger, she thought there was something wrong with her. Right? Maybe she shouldn't do it because fear is showing up. Now that she's older, she realizes that courage and fear, while they may not be best friends, they're very close buddies. And frequently, they arrive together. Maybe not simultaneously, but they arrive together. We see them together, and we see it often. So now she imagines that she's driving a car, and she's embarking on this new project, and she's excited and all of that. And fear shows up. Now what she does is she looks at fear in the face, and she says, "Fear, I expected you to show up because you always do. But fear, you don't get to drive. You have to sit in the back seat." Courage and fear. So as we muster up our courage and we're stepping out into the world, the next thing that we need to do is connect. And it's about connecting with others. And this goes beyond networking, or whatever terms that we like to use. This is true connection. Because people feel us, they resonate with us when we are truly connecting with them about what matters to us. And as females, there are global studies that say that females, we have this tool or strength of connecting with others. We connect through compassion. We connect through dance. We connect through energy. We connect through compassion. And I want to talk about that particular connection, the one of compassion. And I want to talk specifically about fierce compassion. Because in the world today, we're seeing a lot of fierceness, but not a lot of fierce compassion. Now, fierce compassion is something that's based on love. It is not based on fear. Fierce compassion is based on imagining the world a better place. It's not about isolation, it is about openness. And fierce compassion can happen at a community level. It can happen at the individual level. So for example, some fierce compassion, when I think about the women's suffrage movement, the global women's suffrage movement, it took a little over 100 years for women in every country in the world to achieve the right to vote. It is not perfect in some places, but legally, women have achieved the right to vote around the world. That took a little over 100 years without any social media. Imagine what we can do now. Imagine what we are doing now. To the other hand, we have individuals, and we know them. You know them. You know women who stand in their fierce compassion. The Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the United States, that is a true example of fierce compassion. When you take a stand for women and girls around the world, in Africa, declare how it's going to go. Fierce compassion. So as this Women and Girls Africa Summit begins, and we are inspired by these speakers and the conversations that are going to happen and the connections that are going to happen, let's think about, we are together speaking up. We're together standing up and rising up. And that is what Women and Girls Africa Summit represents. We are coming together to improve the lives of women and girls in Africa. So my final question for you is, what was your declaration for women and girls in Africa? Hold that, have the courage to speak it, and go connect with others and make it happen. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you there.